Happy Saturday. How is everyone?
Yeah, good. Hi, Rick.
Good, man. It's good to see you. Has anyone had any exciting plans over the weekend? We should have Mr. Salman Khalid joining us today. He's not here yet, but it's okay. We'll give it a few minutes and let everyone join.
Sorry, hi, Rick. I just thought I should mention this before we start.
Yeah.
So the invite I got to the GitHub, so it's a different email.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if
Yeah, if you just on Slack message me your either your GitHub username or the email it's registered in, and I'll invite you.
Yeah,
Won't be a problem.
I've sent you a message.
Cool.
I'm not sure you've seen it.
Cool. Yeah, I've got it actually.
All right.
I'm just very rude and didn't reply.
No worries.
Give me 1 second. I'll add you to that. That's not a problem.
All right, mate. Thanks. Yeah.
Cool. And there's the man of the hour, Mr. Salman Khalid. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? Thank you.
All good. All good. I've just I've managed to get the keys to the new house I've bought, so I've been there all day pricing things up, and it's going to be very expensive. So
okay.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I've today the first week, what we pretty much done was I allowed the participants just to explore the data, do some research on the task at hand, take a look at any scientific papers if anyone's done anything similar, scour GitHub to see if anyone's used our data or done something similar, and see we can steal a few ideas basically. And we had a lot of research done within the Slack channel. A couple of notebooks have been uploaded to the GitHub already. We found quite a lot of content, to be fair. So today was just basically a sort of reflection over that, because now this is when the work starts to begin. We split it into 2 teams, and one team will be going through a method of feature extraction and then applying traditional sort of classifiers on it. So like boosted trees and SVMs and things like that. And then the second team are going to build basically a custom deep learning model from scratch. So like a convolutional neural network, a vision transformer or whatever. I put out a Google sheet, which, people could volunteer to be the leads. And I've made a decision on that, which I'll get to in a moment. And there was also a bit where people could, what I sort of recommended is that people with a certain amount of experience lock in to a particular team and work with that team to get, to produce the final result. If you're a beginner, just float between the teams and learn from both and how they do it. So we've got that sort of set up at the moment. And I am speaking to a pediatric oncologist who's going to give us a half an hour talk about the disease, how it's diagnosed in the real world, how they use AI, and what they would like to basically see in the future. And it would give us an opportunity as well to ask questions about the disease and maybe get a bit more context, which might be able to, to be applied to whatever particular team it is, and build something special from that. So it's just a little bit different, because it's not everyone's a cancer expert, and it'll be nice to understand the disease before we try and diagnose it basically. But yeah, so it'll be a nice touch. The kickoff meeting, I introduced you, and you're planning on running a few sort of side lessons in various different steps in computer vision and whatnot. So so yeah, but if Salman, more than happy to have a little chat and introduce yourself to the team and what your experience is and whatnot. It's better than coming from me anyway.
Yep, sounds good. Sounds good. So it sounds interesting. Means having a pediatric person and who is expert in that. I mean, that would be amazing. I mean, because just like you said, nobody is expert in cancer. So means I have some background in it. Means I am a biomedical engineer, so I have means I understand the basic biology and things like that. And in terms of computer vision, I have experience. Means a majority of the projects that I did and a majority of the work that I did was in computer vision. So because it's kind of like what I wanted to do. So that's why I'm mainly focused towards that. That's why a majority of the projects and everything that I did means I did a lot of projects in GANs and using all different types of computer vision models, like all the transfer learning ones, all the unit image segmentation ones, or different variations of unit and things like that. So and that would come in pretty handy in this particular project, because this project is we can apply several different techniques out of those. And anyone who is kind of like beginner means so the whole concept means just like Rich explained in the first two videos, in the first two meetings, that the whole idea is not for just for the experienced people for this particular project. It's everybody who is even a beginner. We want to take you forward and we want to show you how it's done, how you can start a particular project and how you can finish a particular project, what are the different stages of a particular project, and how to work in a team and how to work on Git. Because when you are working with the team, then collaboration or whatever, whoever is doing what coding or something, then you need to push your code on Git, because Git is a version control system, which is something you need to learn really well how to use it. Because when you're working with team, then Git is your friend. Why? Because going back and forth between the versions is something which you can do. You can create your own branches, and at the end we can merge branches and create a final version of our main branch and things like that. So I would recommend everyone to start with, means if you're a beginner, if you don't know what Git is, how to work with Git, Free Code Camp has a very good tutorial on Git. So I would recommend you to just watch. It is I think 2 hours long, but first 20 to 25 minutes would get you started. So just watch the first 20 to 25 minutes, which will get you started how to use basic Git or how to set up Git. And then after that, there are 2 or 3 commands which you're going to use majority of the time. Just learn those commands and keep on using them. That is the first thing, because pushing your code and showing your code and contributing in a team is very important. Create your own branch and start doing that. Then in terms of the project, in terms of the beginners, I will be active on Slack from now on. I was not previously, but I will be active from now on. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask your questions, and anything that you're struggling with. I will collect some ideas, means what topics people are struggling with. And what I would try to do is, in previous projects I did it, basically I will do some workshops. And in those workshops, what I would be doing is basically I would be addressing those concerns anybody has. If not, then I will be arranging some workshops where I would be showing some basic implementation of some of the ideas that I have on this particular project. So yes, feel free to use your ideas and everything, and I will share my ideas and how I would approach it and things like that from the scratch. So I will try to do that as well, but it would be next week. From next week onwards, I would be starting doing workshops regularly, at least one for every week. Means I would not be promising more than that. If I am able to do more than that, I would be doing that. But it would be at a particular time where most of the people are available, so that you can ask me questions. So Saturdays, Sundays usually work for me. Means Saturday we are doing this weekly meeting. So maybe we can do after this meeting next week. I can do a workshop, and you can continue this particular, or we can continue this particular meeting and extend it, go beyond whatever the time limit for this particular meeting is, and then do a 1 hour meeting, in which I will be breaking down your concerns or things like that, or doing a workshop where I would be giving my approach to this particular project. Okay, so that is what I would be doing, and feel free to ask your questions. Rich is a very good resource, and then I can see Varun is there. Varun has worked with us in 2 projects. Awais is there. Awais has worked in one of the project. They're means I know these person. You can ask questions, and I know at least for these 2, they would be giving you feedback, and they would be reaching out, or they would be answering your questions. So they are very good person to reach out. And all of the new people who joined for this particular project and you have never worked with us before, I welcome you on this particular project. And I can tell you that by the end of the project, you will have a portfolio worthy project, which you can put in your resumes, and that would look really good on your resumes. Because all the tutorials that you see on YouTube, they are pretty much 1 hour long video, and you're done with the project in 1 hour long video. That's it. That is not how the projects work. Projects take very long time. You need to apply so many different techniques. For example, data cleaning is the most difficult part. And a lot of tutorials that you see on YouTube, data cleaning, they just get done with the data cleaning. They just do simple mean imputation and that's it. And drop all the bad values and things like that. That is not data cleaning. So means data cleaning for computer vision, it is a totally different thing. But any different types of means, for example, if you're doing natural language processing, since this one is computer vision, the data processing would be a bit different. Which framework you are using, PyTorch or TensorFlow or whatever you want to use, that is also different. And I would recommend you to explore it. Means if you are good in TensorFlow, try exploring PyTorch as well. If you're good in PyTorch, try exploring TensorFlow. So this is right now you have time to play with things, to get used to certain things. Maybe if you are used to TensorFlow, maybe if you start using PyTorch, there will be some people who are good in PyTorch and they can help you. So community here is really good. So use this community right now, because all of the people who are active, they would be getting certificates. So that is a motivation behind it. So if you are, so there are a lot of people who will be active and who would be responding. So take advantage of their experiences. That is what I would be saying. And the other thing is, one important thing means all those people who wants to get into data science, there's one thing that they learned very, very late, and that is networking, and that is kind of like putting yourself out there on LinkedIn at least. So whatever you are doing, share your achievement, share your work on LinkedIn regularly, because LinkedIn, I'm telling you, means LinkedIn should be your marketing, or LinkedIn should be your portfolio technically. Yes, you should have a portfolio, you should have your projects on GitHub and everything, but LinkedIn is your portfolio where you announce things, you talk about what you did. So talk big about yourself. You made a notebook, share that notebook on LinkedIn. So share your notebook on LinkedIn. Tag me, tag Rich. We have means by tagging different people, what you can do is you can achieve, so you can achieve the network of, so our network, your post would be able to reach our network as well. So I have about 11,000 followers. Rich has about 25,000 followers, which means combined together, we have 36,000 followers. So tag us or tag any team leaders or things like that. This way, what's going to happen? We will go back and we will, if you tag us, that means we would know you posted something. This way we can go and we can interact with your post. This way, our network can will be getting a notification that I commented on someone's post, I liked somebody's post. So that's how you can leverage other people's network as well. So I would recommend you do that as well, because data science, you are good in programming, you are good in data science, you're good in machine learning. That is not enough. These are the things also matter. So in this project, our goal is not just to get done with the project. Our goal is how to get yourself out there. So feel free to ask questions and feel free to, because I will be able, means I'm willing to share whatever I learn on LinkedIn. So I gain 11,000 followers in about, you can say 5-6 months. So, and in those 5-6 months, 2-3 months, I was not active at all. So I was technically overall, if I talk about how active I was on LinkedIn, maybe if I talk about it, maybe I posted 100 or 150 posts, that's it. 100 and 150 posts, that does not mean every post is amazing or things like that. I was just posting my certificates. Means in the beginning, I was just posting, I did this DataGAM certification, I did that DataGAM certification, what I learned, and so on. If you are doing some certification, start posting about it. If you are doing some project, start posting about it. So there are different groups as well. So there is a Python group as well. There is a machine learning group. If you search about, there are so many LinkedIn groups. I would recommend you to take advantage of that. I'm a manager of one of the Python group, which has about 1.5 million people. So post your achievement, I mean, not achievements because they don't allow achievements, but post your notebooks over there. A lot of people get their eyes on those notebooks, and if they like it, maybe a recruiter or maybe a hiring manager would come across something which he wants to look for, and he would come across from that. So the reach of that particular group is amazing. Means I would recommend you to start using those groups. Very few people are using those groups. I'm telling you, start using those groups. Machine learning group, data science group. There are so many different groups. Business analytics group, Python group. There are, whatever you search, you're gonna find a group. And those groups, LinkedIn recently changed that the post of groups can be displayed to people in the network. So even if you are not in Python group, for example, and I posted something, or I would say that you posted something in LinkedIn, and I liked your post. Your post is not only for the Python group, it also is going to show to my network as well. So which means you are already, so it's kind of like when you post in that particular group, you are already reaching to 1.5 million people, and whichever people interact with you, it is also going in the feed of those people who are interacting their network, which means you can explode, you can get a viral kind of like exposure in those particular posts. So I would recommend you start using that. Okay, so feel free to reach out to me and Rich regarding any of the strategy, not just data science or computer vision or related to project, related to networking as well, related to how LinkedIn works, or if you have any question related to LinkedIn or any of the social platforms. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah,
that is my take on it. Means and now I would leave it to Rich if anybody
absolutely. Since when you post your work on LinkedIn and building that network, it makes it a lot easier to find a job in data science. When I post something, if an interesting article I've found, a piece of work that I've done, I can guarantee you, within 24 hours, a recruiter has messaged me saying, I've looked at your profile, I've seen that you work in this, I've got an opportunity in this company. So it's definitely worth doing, as Salman said. Networking in tech is a very good idea. So as you're working through this project and you've put together a notebook, and you've made an interesting discovery within the image data, or you've you've used some augmentations in an interesting way, just post it. And even if it's just to say, this image looks really nice and interesting now, and it shows that you're working in the project, and hopefully it will help you get that exposure and have recruiters message you, and you don't have to sit there applying for jobs, because we all know everyone hates that. But if you can bring them into you by posting your work and your achievements, it's a good way to do it. So what we've got now, we had a Google Sheet out to pick the task leads, and so we've got team one, who are going to use transfer learning to extract features and then apply traditional machine classifiers on them. And we only had one lead nomination, and that was Oase. So Oase is the lead of team one. And for the co-lead, we've got Neville Matthew as well. So he will be supporting Oase in producing the notebooks and gathering ideas from the rest of the team. There has been there's a good few names on how many is there. There's 17 team members who volunteer for Team 1. So, you know, there's plenty of work to do and plenty of work to be sort of delegated there as well. And then Team 2, the team lead for Team 2 is Pranjal Bhatt, machine learning engineer, master's degree. And he also has been a task lead in previous previous Omdena challenges as well. And then the co-lead for that, I went with Ho-Wei Liang. I hope that's how you pronounce your name. Fresh graduate, Bachelor of Mechatronics Engineering with honours. From what, you know, his degree involves, there isn't any sort of fresh AI experience. And from a co-lead, it's probably preferable to be intermediate or beginner, because they'll be able to learn a lot more in, you know, working with the task lead. So that's who's going to be the co-lead there. So we've got the team leads and we've got the co-leads as well. And then, you know, I've set up 2 channels for Team 1 and Team 2. I'll tag them into the Slack just so people can join them, because they don't appear sometimes for some reason. I think it's probably because we're using a trial version, but there we go. So yeah, so the teams are sorted. We've had a week of just basically researching techniques in terms of data augmentation. We've been researching other projects that may have used our data set or just used, you know, medical diagnosis using images. And we've had a lot of that. So this week is when we start putting that research into practice. This is when we start building the models. First of all, we need to prepare our data. We know that there's a class imbalance. How are we going to solve that? Are we going to, you know, upsample the weak class or downsample the majority class? These are all the kind of experiments this next week I want you to do. And then on Saturday, we'll catch up on the Wednesday meeting and we'll discuss techniques. And then on the next Saturday, we will go through everyone's notebooks and what they've tried, what worked, what didn't, and then we can move on to the next phase. So the next week now is prepping that data. How are we going to fix the imbalance? What are we going to do for the augmentations? Are we going to, you know, use color augmentations? Are we just going to use cropping? You know, there's, you know, experiment with it. I know some people have already, but let's see, you know, what else we can do. And then, you know, if we try maybe 3 or 4 techniques, we can all discuss what's the best way forward, and then we can start delivering them into a model and building, you know, the first layers and things like that, and seeing what we can do. So yeah, that's where we are at the minute. We've got our teams, we've got our leaders, and now it's up to you guys to start implementing some experiments on your data augmentation and data pre-processing as well. On Wednesday, we'll also, you know, it's a catch up. We will talk about what we've done and any interesting things, and we can share ideas between teams as well. Even though the 2 teams are taking different routes, the general pre-processing of the data is going to be pretty much the same. We're going to use the same augmentations and things like that, and we can share ideas between teams and find out what worked and what didn't, and just, you know, make it a bit more robust. It's also the opportunity to ask questions. I'm also going to be creating my own notebook as well, just to gather some ideas and see what works and what doesn't, because, you know, there's a million different things we can do, and I'd like to do it as well, and we can compare notes. And of course, Salman will be there to, you know, have any questions. He's pretty much a computer vision expert, and he'll be able to guide you through the week as well. And hopefully on the Saturday we can do a little workshop, maybe about data augmentation. We can see, we've got plenty of time to do that. But, you know, I've said before, the whole process over the 5 weeks, I can say, yeah, it's going to be stringent, but it's not. Because if we get to the modeling phase and realize that our data augmentations weren't any good, we have to go back and change them. So don't worry if you haven't fully completed 3 or 4 experiments by next Saturday. We can come back to it, try what we've got, and if it doesn't work, we jump back on. It's an iterative process, so don't worry about that. You know, once Saturday comes, I'm not going to say no one can ever do augmentation again. It's not about that. Sometimes we do the wrong things. We augmentate. Is that even a word? Over augmentate them? Maybe, don't know. Might have just made it up, but there we go. But you understand what I'm trying to say. So don't worry about that either. Rahul, you raised your hand.
Yeah. I have one question.
Yep.
So you will be only using this data set, the one that you
Yes.
posted. Okay.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just I want. So what is the end goal of this project?
The end goal of this project is to create a web app, which is basically a deployment of our model. It's not something that we want to be used in hospitals and that, but we want to evidence the work that we've done. So we want to create a web app where people can download, say, 5 sample images, and they can drag and drop them images into the model, and it'll give them a prediction. And obviously they'll know what the right answer is, kind of thing, because it'll be in like the sort of documentation, but they can see it working in real time, kind of thing. And that serves 2 purposes. One, it's evidence that we've completed this and we've built a model that is able to predict whether a particular cell has cancer or not. And 2, it's for your portfolio. You'll have a live app on the web hosted in, say, Streamlit, for example, which you can add to your resume, you can add to your GitHub, or you can add to your LinkedIn and whatever, where people can go on that and use it and say, yeah, he's completed it. He hasn't just got a certification of completion, he's actually got something to present. And you can also talk about that in any interviews you have. If they say, what kind of computer vision work have you done? You can say, well, I've done a medical diagnostic sort of model that classified whether a cell had cancer or not, and they can go on that and use it and see what you've done. So yeah, they're the 2. That's the outcome of this particular project. And of course, we're going to learn along the way, and get the experience of how to put these models, how to build these models and put them into production as well.
No, actually, because so I'm a computer scientist by profession, and
cool.
I am using all this computer vision since last 7 or 8 years.
Nice.
So my question to Salman is also for Salman. So because what happens is in most of these classification or segmentation jobs, the labels is created by, let's say, some master students or someone who is not that expert, or sometimes radiologists also do mistakes. This is for Salman. So will you pay for some unsupervised learning algorithm for this, where you don't have to rely on
absolutely means we can use some already like YOLO or something to get the job for us as well. So if we want to do segmentation, or if we want to do labeling or something, so we can do some object detection kind of like algorithms already trained, or maybe we can somebody is willing, we can do manual annotation as well. So that is something so in my workshop next week, I would be talking about some annotation tools as well. That is what I'm thinking about. And where I would show a simple basic technique, how to annotate or label data for yourself. Means because we are getting data from Kaggle, and in reality, you don't get that kind of a data. So in reality, yes, you have to label everything from scratch and everything. So I would talk about that labeling and annotation doing manually, that part in next Saturday's workshop. And that's a good question. Means I would recommend, if you have experience, I would definitely want to you to come up with some clustering technique or some technique. This way we would have another kind of like aspect already.
It's because you mentioned that you have experience in GAN, and
yes.
Let's say we generate some synthetic data out of these, and then we compare these real ones.
Absolutely.
And if you could compare whether, and then we would have, because I'm involved in this kind of stuff since last 4 and 5, and I've never found a perfect labeler.
You will never find it. Yes.
So and part of the job is they get bored and they do mistakes.
Absolutely. So let me tell you, my master's research was in spinal cord injury, and I labeled thousands and thousands of images manually. So I know that this is something that things can happen or mistakes can happen. And that is the reason why you have to repeat experiments multiple times in order to take average, because there can be mistakes. So, and that work is kind of like divided into 3 years. So out in those 3 years, I was doing the exact technically one project, and that one project for 3 years, I was doing collecting data and labeling everything manually. And the reason is, if you are manually, these things does happen. And in order to make sure that they don't happen, or you are active and you are focusing in things like that, you kind of like break it down and repeat it multiple times and everything. So I totally understand that. So in terms of GANs and everything, means my goal, my idea is I would be doing multiple workshops, and I would touch some things related to GAN, some things related to manual annotations, and those things which are usually not touched, because you get a data set which is already labeled from Kaggle or different resources, and then you start working on that data, that's it. But how to get that data and how to label it yourself and things like that, that is something, if I can kind of like show it to in this group, that is what I was thinking in the beginning, and that's what me and Rich discussed in the beginning, because we wanted to do this project because the goal was that we get the data from Kaggle, and everybody is doing that, getting the data from Kaggle. But in reality, getting the data and cleaning the data is the biggest job. Making the model is not the biggest job. Making the model takes maybe just 5% of the work, and the rest of it is just data cleaning and data. Yeah. How to
exactly. I mean, it will not give you likes on YouTube or any.
No, it wouldn't. No,
absolutely.
It's very laborious and boring and not glamorous whatsoever.
It is boring, and yes, that is the reason why we are not doing it for YouTube. And so I did some workshops in the previous Omdena chapters as well, privately as well. They are very long, they are boring. Very few people watch it, but whoever is watching, they are giving good feedback that they learned something. So the goal is to put something out there which some people are putting out, not everybody. So at least we are initiators in this particular category.
Yeah, we had the data. It comes from it appears on Kaggle now, but it originally came from cancer imaging website, where a lot of academics put their data up, which is already labeled. Our validation set has a pretty much an index of what the true labels are, and they've been sort of defined by a expert in pediatric oncology. Now, it's human labeled. Some mistakes might have slipped in. We just have to take that, that's just a given. But our test data doesn't have any labels whatsoever. So in the context of this particular challenge, we can't really use it to test our model. We only can use the validation, because in the test data, we don't know the true labels. However, I'm going to organize the call with the expert, the pediatric oncology expert. I wonder if he would be able, if we train our model and we do all the steps and we can use this unknown test data, and let's classify maybe 20 samples and send them to him and see what his expert opinion is. If that's, of course, if that's his area of expertise, in that, he diagnoses through electron microscopy. If he doesn't, it doesn't matter. But it might be quite an interesting test to see if our model works and if he agrees with the output or not. That could be an avenue we could take. That's if he's got the time, of course. But yeah, I think it is very interesting. But yeah, data labeling, everyone hates it, but it has to be done. It's just one of them things. I don't think I had any grey hairs before I became a data scientist, and that's all because of labeling data, mostly. But yeah, Anka, you've had your hand raised for a while.
Yes, sorry, I missed the first 5 minutes of the meeting, so if my question is answered there, I can watch the recording. I was wondering if you can provide a more elaborate description on the steps that should be taken by the two teams and what differs between those actual steps. From my understanding was that team 2 is gonna deal with the transformation learning, but I think I heard you saying that team 1 is gonna do that.
Yeah, team 1 is the transfer learning, because what they're going to do is use a pre-trained model to extract image information and then use more traditional machine learning algorithms on it to classify it, whether it's positive or negative. Team 2 are going to build a custom computer vision model, so like a convolutional neural network or a vision transformer or whatever they want to experiment with. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to lay the steps out, and we have the task leads now. Oasis Team 1 task lead, who's completely forgot who's number 2 now. Pranjal is team lead of Team 2. So as they're the team leads, they can issue the steps and delegate the certain tasks, because there's a number of different people on both teams. So, you know, it might be a too big a job for one person. So, you know, if Oasis is using the transfer learning, there's a number of different models that can extract features from images. So he might delegate that out to, you know, maybe 3 or 4 people who can extract features from different models and see the difference between the features that have been extracted between them models. But yeah, I think it's a good idea in the team meetings between the 2 different teams that a plan of attack is given. So steps to, you know, your particular method needs to be set in concrete, so beginners especially can understand each step of the way. We do have a rough idea of where we want to be each week, which I put out at the start of the task. So like week 1 was research, week 2 is data augmentation, week 3 is starting to build a model and whatnot. But there's a number of different steps in between them. It's quite a grey area, and it's iterative as well. So you can go back and forth between tasks if things don't go to plan, or you might have another idea and you have to go back to the start. It's all iterative. So I think having a skeleton plan of attack is probably the best. And I'm sure Oasis and Pranjal can come up with something between them just to distribute between the teams. But, you know, me and Salman are here. Rahul, expert in computer vision and whatnot in his own sector. So he can also help out on that, I imagine, if you have any questions. He probably certainly knows more than me in this particular area. But, you know, we're all here to help. We're a team. Ask questions. No questions are stupid. But I think, yeah, as you say, having a bit more structure to what needs to be done and when it needs to be done is definitely a good idea. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for answering.
I've meant to ask you as well, Anka. You are a software engineer with 7 years experience. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What kind of languages do you specialize in?
So I work mainly on a Java backend, but recently I've switched to mobile development. Yeah.
Cool. You can teach me a lot. I was never a software engineer, and in my job at the moment, I've currently been assigned to a software engineering task. But it's through Python. Fortunately, I do know Python, but you know, software engineering, it's a completely different ball game. I was not ready for it, but here we are. So yeah, I have a lot of admiration.
I have the same feeling about data science. So.
Yeah. It's cool though. But yeah, I hope I never hear the word Git rebase ever again. Yeah, it's just an absolute nightmare. I can never get it right. So yeah, but it's good to have you on board. It's good to have a completely different set of skill set. So yeah, so what will happen now? Oasis and Pranjal. I think is Pranjal on the call? Actually, I don't think I've seen his name. No, I don't think he is. But anyway, so what will happen next is Oasis has got his own channel, Pranjal's got his own channel, and we'll set up a meeting outside of it, and you can discuss a plan of attack. As I said, them meetings don't need to be recorded. It'll help if they were, but it's not necessarily. But you know, they can discuss what their ideas are and how to move forward on this project. The first week is data augmentation and data processing. So we've got plenty to discuss there, and I can leave that in the capable hands of the team leads. We've got 20 seconds left. So what I'll do, I'll restart this call and we'll jump back in again. There's a couple of more things I need to go over before we get cracking. Okay, so just refresh when you can. Cheers. So, what I was going to also say is, where was it now? Give me 1 second. Yeah, the GitHub. So there's, I'm only allowed certain amounts of invites per day, and it's really annoying, to be honest. But I've nearly invited everyone.
Rich,
Oh yeah, go on. Sorry, Rahul.
do you have any specific protocol for pushing and pulling a repository on GitHub, or merging?
Not at the moment. However, I know that because there'll be 2 teams, there'll be 2 separate team folders. So I guess that's pretty much on however the teams want to operate. In the past, it was done very manually. But by all means, if participants within each team want to create their own branches and to do their own research, if they've been delegated a task and that can be then merged in later on, by all means, go ahead. Absolutely, it just depends on how comfortable the team are for doing that. As long as everything's in there, as long as there's because the 2 teams, I think a good idea would be all working off the same notebook, and that obviously would if you need to work on the same sort of work, but it would be an idea to start creating your own branches and working on your own notebook, and then merging changes in. For if someone, if 5 people have been working on the same thing, but you all agree that one person's is probably the most efficient, merge that one, and it makes more sense to start making different branches and stuff like that. But I'll leave that in the hands of the task leads and how they want to work it. I would recommend it because Git is a massive part of version control. You cannot escape it, and if you haven't had much experience with it, it will be great practice, really good practice, especially if you go into industry. If you get offered a job and you've never used Git, you're gonna struggle at first. It is quite a for me, it took me a while because to get my head around, because I thought it was quite computer. I didn't know what rebase meant. I didn't know what anyone was talking about. So if I could go back, I would certainly practice Git a lot. I had to learn the hard way. I had to learn on the job. So it was difficult for me. And hindsight's 2020. So I would recommend that the team lead set it up in a way where people can commit and create their own branches just for practice's sake. And if you mess up, everything can be rolled back. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a big issue. If you have never used Git before, don't worry about it. If you mess up, it can be fixed, and that's the beauty of it. So yeah, I think that should be one to be discussed within teams. If you host a team meeting, bring it up and let's talk about it. And it's whatever the teams choose. But yeah, it would be nice to see.
I have used Git quite a lot. It's just,
yeah.
I mean, in some, like very sophisticated group, they have a specific protocols. Okay, you have to merge in this, and
yeah. There's I mean, I would keep it quite simple. Have a number of different branches looking at different things, and once each week is done, and we're happy with a certain person's technique, merge that one in, and then the next branch can come off that one, and it's just and the other redundant branches, they can be left there though, just for tracking's sake, and we can look at the different methods people have tried and whatnot. It's not a problem. But just try and keep it as simple as possible. It's not going to be it's not like a massive sort of software engineering kind of task. It's quite simple. We're all working off the same notebook, so it can be kept relatively easy. But it would be good experience. So yeah, good point. Let's bring it up in the team meetings alongside, and just choose however you want to work it. I think that's pretty much it from me. I can't think of anything else that I need to discuss. There's a lot of research in the knowledge sharing channel, and there's OACE has uploaded a notebook with his image augmentations as well, so it's worth checking out. Has anyone got any other questions whatsoever about what we've discussed today?
I have the last question. I mean,
Yeah.
So regarding this, because you mentioned that the end goal of this project will be app, right? So since I just checked day before yesterday about like all the activity on Slack, and I found several people are working on Google collab.
Yeah.
So this app will be based on like, is it a DAS app or like a Java based application?
Well, that's the decision that we need to make. Obviously, when we come to the deployment side, we'll have to drop Google Colab and make this into some sort of script. We've used in the past Streamlit because it's free and the documentation is fantastic. There is slight differences hosting computer vision models on there, which we'll have to take a look at. But you know, Anka's just confessed she knows Java, so she might be able to lead on the deployment, making some sort of Java app. I don't know. We can talk about that once we get there. Streamlit is good only because it's simple to use and the documentation is probably one of the best I've ever seen. It's so simple to use and it's really effective. And you do there is the limitation. It doesn't really have very large limitations, so we can host a decent sized model on there. But you know, we'll get there, and people need to do research around that as well. What would be the best way to host a vision model? So yeah, that's probably for discussion. Maybe 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, we can really sit down and talk about that and figure out a way forward. So yeah, but it's a good question. We've got a number of different people who I know have built deployments before. Always done a fantastic sort of dashboard for us in the last one. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be a web app. It could be a mobile phone app if we have time. Do we have? I don't know how long it takes to create one of them. I have no experience in that, but you know, it could be definitely worth the discussion. Damir, you've got your hand raised. Is that how you pronounce your name?
Damir, yeah.
Cool.
So I just have a question regarding us that we want to float between two teams.
Yep.
What's the best way? Because like, especially let's say the meetings are at the same time, or you know, how can we?
Yeah, the main team meetings are going to be the Wednesday and the Saturday, but the teams can meet whenever they deem necessary. I'm leaving that to the task leads. Now, because the teams are working on different methodologies, they don't necessarily have to be at the same time. It would be better if they don't conflict, only because if beginners want to see what's going on in both teams, it would be obviously easier if they were set at different times. So I think what we should do is possibly create a schedule, a Google sheet when each team decides they're going to meet, and then we can make sure that there's no conflicts. That would probably be the best way forward. Just a simple Google sheet will probably solve that problem. But yeah, I would recommend attending the other teams' ones as well, just to get the best out of it. Of course, I know, you know, you're not going to be able, there's no expectation to attend every single meeting. We've all got lives, we've all got jobs, we've got kids, we've got all stuff going on. Just get there, you know, to as many as you physically can. And our main team meetings, the Wednesdays and the Saturdays, they're all going to be recorded and put on the YouTube channel anyway as standard. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool, not a problem. Always said in the chat, Streamlit, but he's been checking out another web framework, Gradio, as well. It's another fantastic one. If you know, we can use transfer learning. I don't know, you know, I don't use Hugging Face as much as I should, but I believe they can host custom models as well, and they sort of link up their platform with Gradio as well. So that could be certainly an option. And the good thing about it, it's free as well. So yeah, I think there's a number of different deployments that we could possibly talk about, but we'll talk about that once we get there. Any sort of web app will do. I think that's it from me. What else? Anka, I think it would be better got with a web-based app, especially for beginning. Yeah, depending on how we want this used, of course, we won't have a quick way to demo. I don't see why. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what the main thing is. It's a quick demo to demonstrate our work, and the hard work we've put in. You know, we're not expecting this to, you know, we're not expecting a hospital to ring us up and say, we've seen that, we want to buy it kind of thing. That's not what it's about. It's about demonstrating what we have done and what we can do.
No, but if we reach to that, then we can build the mobile apps as well. But
Yeah.
I'm imagining that for the beginning, we'd like to have something simpler as a, I don't know, a way to input an image and to predict what's the diagnosis based on that.
Yeah, it's a proof of concept. That's what we need, is a proof of concept.
The complicated thing that I see is that we need a way to call an API that would run the model and predict the outcome of the model. So this is the hardest part.
Things like Streamlit have that availability. You just they host your model and you just call to it, so you can get, you know what I mean. So it is quite good like that. But there's a number of different, like I don't think I've seen a computer vision model on Streamlit, but I'm sure it's being done. But there are other platforms which seem to offer vision models being hosted on their platform. So yeah, Streamlit, as always says, Streamlit can do it in a couple of lines. Yeah. So I think that might be the way to go. But you know, that is a research topic. That is a research. So how's the best way we can deliver a proof of concept? And then we can post that on things like LinkedIn, and everyone can then try it themselves. So yeah, there's a discussion around that. We'll have to have a discussion. And as you say, you know, we could invest it into a mobile app if it's a serious sort of project. It could be rolled out on a web app where people, you know, take a photo of some slides or something, or whatever it is, you know what I mean. There's a million ways we can do it. It would be very interesting to put that in development. And you know, if you want to develop that to further extend the effectiveness of your portfolio, go ahead. This is your project. You do with it. You know, once the project ends, you can carry on developing it to your heart's content. It doesn't just end there. So yeah, it's a good idea. Cool. Does anyone have any other questions whatsoever? No? Okay, I think we'll leave it there then for today. I'll see you on Wednesday. Team leads, please book in some sort of introduction calls. Create a sort of workflow that you want to work to and present it to your teams over the next week or so. And this week is where we start to confirm how we are going to process our images, how we're going to augmentate them, how we're going to deal with the clash and balance, if at all. This is where we get the work done towards that. On Wednesday, we'll have a check-in. And on Saturday, each team will present the work that they've done in that week to each other. And we will discuss and ask questions. And yeah, we'll go through it with a fine-tooth comb. Yep, there is separate channels in the Slack. What I'll do right now, in the problem statement, I'll tag both the channels in there. So team 1, and I'll put team 2 as well. Team 2, and that is Trangel. There we go. So in the problem statements, I've just tagged them in. If you can go and join them, that'd be great. Beginners, I recommend joining both, so you've got visibility of both teams, and because that's where all the discussion's going to happen outside the team meetings. So yeah, it'll be a good idea to join both. If that is everything, has anyone got any other questions? Make yourself known. No? Okay. We'll leave it there then for Saturday. I'll let you get back to whatever you were doing on this lovely Saturday, and I will catch up with you and see you in the Slack next time. So thank you very much for spending this hour with me, and I will see you soon. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Rich. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.